The wind does not merely blow across the jagged peaks of the Altai Mountains. It howls with the absolute unyielding fury of a frozen wilderness. Here, at 10,000 feet above the rest of the world, the air itself feels like shattered glass against the skin. High above this desolation, a massive shadow sweeps silently across the blinding, snow-covered landscape. It is the golden eagle, the undisputed master of this terrifying high-altitude empire. With eyesight 8 times sharper than that of a human being, this apex avian predator operates on a completely different sensory plane. It can spot the slight trembling twitch of a frightened muscle from 2 miles high in the freezing, turbulent air. For centuries, the open sky has belonged exclusively to those who possess wings and the power to conquer gravity. But today, the invisible, ancient boundary between the heavens and the earth is about to be violently shattered by desperate, agonizing hunger. Winter in the alpine tundra is not merely a passing season of bitter cold. It is a ruthless, unforgiving executioner that slowly drains the life from everything it touches. Temperatures routinely plummet to 30 degrees below zero, turning the very atmosphere into a sharp blade that effortlessly cuts through flesh and bone. Heavy, suffocating blankets of crystalline snow have buried traditional food sources beneath a permanent, blinding white tomb. In this high-altitude laboratory of extreme evolution, the oxygen is incredibly thin, making every movement a calculated risk. Every single calorie burned in the pursuit of food must be aggressively, immediately replenished. Failure to secure a warm meal does not simply result in temporary weakness, but in a silent, permanent, freezing death. The golden rule of survival in this vast, icy wasteland is simple and brutal. Scavenging the remains of the dead is almost always vastly safer than actively hunting the living. But taking what does not belong to you becomes a fatal, irreversible mistake when you attempt to steal directly from the undisputed king of the sky. The golden eagle is not just a bird. It is a living, breathing weapon forged by millions of years of brutal, uncompromising evolution. Boasting an imposing, magnificent 7-foot wingspan, it rides the violent thermal currents with terrifying, effortless grace. Its thick, scaled yellow talons are the size of adult bear claws. They are capable of exerting an astonishing 400 pounds of bone-crushing force per square inch. This horrific grip is mathematically and biologically stronger than the bite force of a wild, hungry wolf. Far below the soaring avian monarch, down on the frozen, unforgiving earth, a challenger quietly emerges from the dense whiteout conditions. It is the red fox, a cunning, highly adaptable terrestrial survivor, perfectly clad in a thick, insulating russet winter coat. Under normal, forgiving circumstances, the fox relies heavily on its unparalleled agility, sharp intelligence, and silent stealth to outsmart smaller, weaker prey. However, the deep, impenetrable layers of heavy snow have driven this highly intelligent canine to the absolute extreme edge of starvation. Its ribs press painfully against its fur, and its steps, though quiet, carry the heavy burden of sheer desperation. A critical life-altering catalyst suddenly shifts the fragile, invisible balance of the mountain. The massive eagle has successfully hunted a terrified mountain hare, pinning it down and tearing into the fresh carcass upon an exposed, windswept boulder. The warm, metallic, unmistakable scent of fresh blood drifts dangerously and seductively on the freezing, howling wind. It acts as an irresistible magnetic beacon for the starving, desperate fox prowling through the frozen timberline below. Tension rapidly mounts as the supreme arrogance of the untouchable avian apex predator clashes directly with the calculated do-or-die risk of a grounded, starving mammal. The soft, rhythmic crunch of padded paws pressing into the icy, compacted snow momentarily breaks the eerie, dead silence of the canyon. Instantly, a sharp, piercing, bone-chilling screech violently echoes off the sheer, frozen canyon walls. The eagle, operating with supernatural awareness, has sensed the terrestrial intruder long before the fox even manages to clear the sparse tree line. Deep-rooted, ancient biological instinct usually dictates that a solitary fox should entirely avoid the immediate dangerous territory of a massive bird of prey. Yet blinding, consuming starvation possesses the unique, terrifying power to completely rewrite the ancient, established rules of wilderness survival. The terrestrial beast uses jagged, frost-covered boulders for tactical cover, inching closer with agonizing, methodical caution. Every step is calculated. Every breath is shallow, masking its presence as much as biologically possible. Sensing the imminent crawling threat, the massive bird responds not with fear, but with a terrifying display of absolute dominance. The eagle aggressively begins mantling its hard-earned prey. It slowly, deliberately spreads its massive dark wings out into a wide, intimidating, impenetrable canopy. This brilliant tactical maneuver perfectly hides the stolen meat from sight, while simultaneously making the bird appear gigantically disproportionate and overwhelmingly threatening. It is a final, unmistakable visual warning sent directly from the monarch of the sky to the starving scavenger of the earth. A chilling, breathless stare down ensues between the two vastly different, highly evolved predators. The fox nervously bares its sharp, white teeth, lowering its ears, fully aware of the lethal, descending danger hovering just inches away. In direct response, the eagle slightly raises its deadly, hooked yellow talons, shifting its weight, ready to strike downward with lethal, blinding precision. Neither creature can afford the energetic, physical cost of backing down from this high-stakes, violent confrontation. Survival on this unforgiving, brutal mountain has finally, inevitably narrowed down to one single, blood-stained patch of snow. With a sudden, explosive burst of remaining adrenaline, the starving fox makes its desperate, calculated dash directly toward the exposed carcass. It does not run with the graceful, fluid motion of a healthy hunt, but with the erratic, frantic scrambling of a creature with absolutely nothing left to lose. Reacting with lightning-fast, predatory reflexes, the massive eagle does not immediately lunge forward to meet the charging terrestrial threat. Instead, it intelligently launches its heavy body backward directly into the freezing, turbulent air, violently flapping its enormous 7-foot wings. This brilliant, instinctive tactical maneuver utilizes the howling mountain draft and the raw, unseen power of gravity to instantly mount a devastating, high-speed aerial counterattack. The gigantic bird climbs steeply into the blinding white sky for a brief, terrifying second, becoming a dark, ominous silhouette against the glaring winter sun. Then, with absolute lethal precision, it executes a brutal, plunging stoop, diving straight down toward the scrambling, reddish-brown canine. The sheer, horrifying sound of the freezing wind, violently tearing through the stiff, primary flight feathers, sounds exactly like a falling, unguided missile. It is a chaotic, grounded, brutal brawl, where the absolute mastery of the sky violently collides with the desperate, biting tenacity of the earth. Thick, razor-sharp yellow talons violently meet, snapping foam-flecked jaws in a blinding, chaotic flurry of flying white snow, ripped red fur, and broken dark feathers. The biological stakes in this frozen arena could not possibly be any higher for either of these magnificent, struggling creatures. The majestic eagle must fiercely protect its incredibly delicate, hollow wing bones from the crushing, piercing force of the fox's sharp, desperate teeth. Even a single, minor fracture in one of those incredibly complex wings would mean an immediate loss of flight and certain agonizing death on this frozen peak. Simultaneously, the agile fox must desperately twist, turn, and dodge the lethal vice-like grip of the descending talons, aggressively aiming to sever its fragile spine. It is a breathtaking display of raw, unedited, incredibly violent natural survival, stripped entirely of any romanticized human emotion or moral judgment. For several agonizing, breathless seconds, the two elite predators are completely entangled in a terrifying, deadly dance of sheer willpower and raw, physical endurance. The fox manages to snatch a small, frozen piece of the torn meat, its jaws snapping shut with a loud, hollow clack. However, the overwhelming, terrifying force of the eagle's massive, beating wings continuously batters the exhausted canine, blinding it with a swirling vortex of icy snow. Rapidly calculating the severe, unsustainable energy loss and the dangerously high risk of sustaining a permanent, lethal injury, the intelligent fox makes a split-second decision. It abruptly breaks off the fierce engagement, dropping its bushy tail and rapidly retreating backward over the jagged, unforgiving ice. It has accepted a bitter, hungry defeat today, intelligently choosing to preserve its remaining life to fight and hunt another day in this endless winter. The triumphant eagle lands heavily back upon the blood-stained boulder, its broad, feathered chest heaving rapidly as it passionately reclaims its incredibly hard-earned meal. There are absolutely no heroes or villains to be found anywhere on this magnificent, unforgiving mountain. The starving fox is not inherently evil or malicious for desperately attempting to steal another hunter's kill to survive the freezing night. Likewise, the glorious eagle is not cruel or vindictive for violently defending the precious calories that will keep its internal furnace burning through the blizzard. Both of these incredible, resilient animals are simply beautifully obeying the brutal, ancient, and entirely mathematical laws of pure, unadulterated nature. As the pale, freezing winter sun finally begins to slowly set over the spectacular, jagged peaks of the Altai Mountains, casting long, dark shadows across the ice, a profound silence returns. The delicate, invisible balance of this harsh, beautiful ecosystem is perfectly maintained for one more day, paid for entirely in blood, exhaustion, and unparalleled resilience. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts on this incredible, brutal battle for high-altitude survival.